Okay, so the next thing we are going to do, if I just bring up the finished design again, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add this white faded highlight that we have going on here. As you can see, if you look carefully, it's actually it's essentially the bottom end, the very bottom end of a flattened out circle, but it does give the visual appearance of a reflection or a sheen or a highlight or something on there. But in design purposes, it is really just the bottom end of a circle and ellipse. So that's exactly what we're going to add onto ours then. So if I just minimize this, back onto ours, rather inevitably we need to create a new layer first. So we're just going to create it above this header variation layer, so make sure that one's selected and then click to create a new layer, and we'll double click on there to rename it. We'll call it header highlight. Again, you can call that anything you like as long as you remember what that is for later reference. The next thing we are going to select is up here. If we just click on the rectangular marquee tool, but if we click and hold that down just to bring up the other options, we want the elliptical marquee tool, which is the round one. And up here we'll just run through these, make sure these are all as they should be. The first one of these highlighted, the new selection. Feather, make sure that's on 0. Otherwise, when we do fill this with the white colour, it will have a soft edge, which is not what we want. Anti-aliasing, make sure that's switched on for a smooth edge, and style normal. So yeah, once you have all those correct, that's we're ready to go. What we need to do then is, what we're going to do is drag basically an ellipse out, and we're going to position it somewhere so that it sort of comes down and covers the top. So the bottom end of it comes and covers the top of the header. So I'll just unselect that one by clicking outside of the selection, and we'll do that a little bit more accurately now. So what you need to do is somewhere in the top left hand corner, not the exact left, somewhere just anywhere around there approximately, just click down the left mouse button and hold that down, and then drag it out the ellipse out to the other end. Now if you can get that approximately the same distance from where you dragged the edge here out to the same distance from the right hand side, just to make sure things are nice and even, and then we're going to drag down the height. So what you're doing is you're imagining really how high you want this highlight to be by sort of visually imagining that the bottom half of this ellipse is going to be the white highlight area. Obviously it's a little bit low at the moment, it's not in position, but that's fine. It's just, we just want to get an approximate height going. Something like that's not too bad. So if we just let go of the mouse button to create that selection, there we have it. And like I said, that is a little bit low, we don't want the highlight coming right down here, and we haven't quite got the bottom half of it going on there yet. So what we need to do is, anywhere inside the selection, you can see that the cursor changes from the crosshair to this little icon. That just means that we can drag now this, if we click and hold down, we can drag this selection to anywhere on the page that we want. So what we want is to drag it so that the selection sort of it comes onto the header around about here in the top corner, not too high so that it doesn't, too high and it won't come on the right place, too low and we're not going to get the correct amount of highlight. So what we're going to do is just drag that to about there, something like that. Well, that's quite nice. And as you can see, that area now is where the highlight will be. So the next thing we need to do is just to fill this selection with a white colour that will be our highlight. So clicking the foreground colour here, we just need to select a white. Again, with our colour picker we could have just clicked in there, that would have selected the white also. As long as 255, 255, 255 is selected here, that's the main thing. Making sure we have a pure white. Fantastic. And so the next thing we're going to do is just fill this area here. Again, two ways we can do this. We can go to Edit and Fill, and make sure instead of pattern we have foreground colour selected there, so that will choose the white and fill this area with the white, and we can click OK there. Now just as a quick side to that, a quicker way of doing this actually is, I'll cancel this option so it doesn't fill it. There's a very handy keyboard shortcut we can use, and that's just to hold down the Alt key and press backspace, and that instantly fills your selection with the foreground colour anyway. That's just a quicker way of going through, instead of going through and edit, fill. That's just a quick way of doing that. Okay, so now we have the highlight filled. It looks a bit of a mess at the moment, obviously because it's going over our header and everything. That's not a problem though, because we can sort that out now. If I just click anywhere outside the selection just to release the selection, you do that so that the dotted line disappears, and we select the move tool here, just again so we can fine tune where we want this to be. If you're happy with it, don't touch it. If not, you can move it. Again, we can nudge it around with the arrow keys on the keyboard. That's pretty much perfect where we want it to be. Now that's obviously way too strong, it's completely obliterating everything. So we're going to turn the opacity layer right down up here. We're going to turn that right down to 20%, and straight away you can see that looks much better. It's still quite detracting on the eye. It doesn't look like a highlight yet, simply because you can see the rest of this ellipse, and it's your eye, visually your brain's not really tuned into seeing it properly yet. So what we need to do is get rid of this area that we don't want, and much in the way as we did with this the black variation highlight colour, we're going to get rid of that. So the thing we need to do is hold down Control on the keyboard and just click the thumbnail area of the shape layer to load that selection, like so. So make sure you have this dashed line going around the shape, and as we did previously, we're going to contract this layer by 4 pixels. So select, modify, contract. You should be able to do these things in your sleep now. We've done them that many times. I know I certainly do. I sometimes wake up in the middle of the night and I've contracted my selection. Anyway, enough about me. Contract by 4 pixels again. OK, and we can see again the selection has shrunk to where we want it. Currently we have the inside selected. Again, as we did in the previous video, we need to inverse that selection. So either with Control, Shift and I on the keyboard, like so, or going to select and inverse here, whichever is your preferred method. Make sure that we now have the outer area here selected, and we're just going to hit backspace again just to delete the area that we don't want. Again, clicking the marquee tool and then clicking somewhere outside the selection, which is actually in theory inside this selection, we're just going to release the selection just to get rid of those dashed lines. And now we can see we have pretty much our perfect highlight going on there. So that's good. So if you move on to the next video, we'll show you how to get this pattern effect going on here.